I am joined here by the legendary Steve Bannon and Matt Gaetz.
Whoa!
So Matt, I thought I was
Bannon and I are starting to look more like each other.
I want to introduce the new War Room fashion line worn by Gaetz.
Yes, promo code Bannon to get 8 black shirts for the price of 3.
I'm dressed up compared to them. Steve, you gave an epic speech yesterday. Takeaways for those listening on radio that can't be here. Give them just some of a window into what we've been experiencing here.
Well, it's the Army of the Awakened, right? And what AmFest is the 12 to 15,000 people at the tip of the spear. You're the Pathfinders, you're Force Recon, you're the Rangers, you're the ones leading the way. Every revolutionary movement has a vanguard. And 250 years ago on Saturday was the Boston Tea Party with Hancock and Sam Adams and John Adams and the entire crew. If they came back today, they would say this movement is the direct descendant of our revolutionary generation, right? That's the whole message, that if this group does not falter, does not retreat, does not back up, and look, we're going to have victories and we're going to have defeats, but we cannot be beaten, right? We cannot, just like in the revolution. It was what, 8 years of fighting to get to victory? It may take that long here. The first stop is victory next November, House, Senate, and Donald J. Trump back in the White House.
So Steve, I'm glued to your speech last night, and what was so unique about it is I felt more empowered afterwards, not as a lawmaker, but just as an American. And Charlie, I haven't even told you this yet, but all the gossip and talk on the House floor was about which members of Congress even got to take the stage here. That's how powerful this audience is. Amen. That's how powerful this platform is. The lawmakers understand that even the chance to cast a vision and see your reaction and response is really what drives this movement more than any boring meeting in a conference room with the RNC.
Well, and I got to tell you, I got lots of calls from members of Congress that I know, and they say, you know, why wasn't I invited? I said, well, vote better. I said, vote better. I said, vote better.
Follow Matt Gaetz.
They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you voted for the NDAA, and you voted for all this nonsense. And, you know, look, we're very careful about who we platform here at the Turning Point Action Conference, Turning Point USA, because if you don't have, and by the way, we have a scorecard, Turning Point Action, go to tpaction.com. We score every single vote. And so, but this is a whole new development, Steve, and I love hearing that, Matt, because lawmakers are starting to realize that the grassroots is leading the party, that it's starting to set the tone. This is a game change. Steve, we need to pour gas on this.
It's called populism. Populism. We're tired of having the elites tell us what to do. Republican elites, Wall Street elites, Silicon Valley elites, it doesn't matter. Strength and power comes from the people, right? That's where we fought. That's where we left Great Britain at the beginning. They were the greatest empire on earth. We broke away from that and took a gamble, a roll of the dice. Why? Because we would not live under tyranny, and we wanted liberty. Liberty. And that's why, by the way, and that's why you see guys like Gaetz in Congress, these fighting, hey, we're not winning every battle, but we got a plan eventually to win all the battles and to take the House with MAGA Republicans. How many precincts?
Steve, listen, I'm just glad we're not losing every battle. You know, it feels so often, as I said yesterday, like the leaders in both parties work for the same special interests. And we've got to show a distinction, a vision, something that draws people in a positive and inclusive way. But that doesn't mean painting in the pastels. We draw people in by being bold, by offering bold solutions like we see from President Trump. And they don't have to be complicated. Oftentimes, it's the application of common sense, and that gets drained out of how we make decisions because so many of them sell out to the lobbyists and special interests and the donor class, and they forget all about their connection to the people. And so if we restore that connection by empowering this group, we will see better governance, a stronger Republican Party, and more victories on the way.
All right.
So now we got to get into it. I gave you guys both a heads up, all right? You buckle up, everybody, right? Now you guys know this.
And I said go hard on him.
I'm a big fan of Matt Gaetz. We all like Matt, right?
Matt's
but I'm gonna.
Well, so, Charlie, you weren't going to get me as speaker.
This comes from a place of love. Yes or no, up or down vote. Speaker Johnson, what do you guys think? Mostly good? Do you guys like what he's doing? I think he's been a colossal disappointment.
A lot of room for growth.
So, but here he is. I have a biblical worldview. I'm a Christian. What's going on, Matt?
Listen, if I had to give Speaker Johnson a grade, it would be an I, incomplete, because there is a great deal of work ahead that we must endeavor upon. But keep in mind a few facts where we were and where we've come to. Kevin McCarthy told us that we could release no more January 6 tapes, that was completely over. Now, there's more work to do, but we got more tapes out. Kevin McCarthy, for 7 months, had bottlenecked all the subpoenas. Did you really believe the investigations of these folks was serious in the absence of sending the first subpoena for 7 months? We got the first subpoenas to Hunter and Frank Biden out in days under Speaker Johnson. More work to do, but that's directionally correct. Now, and on the spending matters. We had only passed 2 single-subject appropriations bills for 7 months under Kevin McCarthy. Out of the 12, we've only got, I think, 3 left to get to under Speaker Johnson. So we're not winning every fight. Mike Johnson was never going to be Matt Gaetz. We're 2 different people. If I ran for House Speaker on the best day, with the wind at my back, with all of the stars aligned, I could maybe get 11 votes. Okay, so you have to recognize that we still have Republicans who want to claw over one another to give more money to Ukraine. Now, under Kevin McCarthy, there were no stipulations, no requirements. Send more money. If it shoots, send it, was the doctrine under McCarthy. Now, Johnson might not be where I am, but he's at least said we're not sending money to Ukraine without a plan for victory or the border. And by the way, we're not going to deficit spend. We're not going to borrow money from China to send it to Ukraine. We're going to take it right out of the rear end of the IRS, and we force the Democrats to say that they'd rather fund the army of IRS agents than the army fighting Hamas. So the grade is incomplete, but I can't turn this battleship 180 degrees. I think we're turning it in the right way.
Help me understand why he said no CRs and then he lied about that.
Well, because he didn't have the votes.
But why is Speaker Johnson lying?
Maybe they all lie about no CRs, because they've all said it, and then we get CRs under all.
Why is a guy who says he's a Christian lying to us?
Well, I think that Mike Johnson viewed this short-term bridge as a way to liberate ourselves from the CRs. But also, Charlie, remember that the original sin in all of this was that debt limit deal.
Amen.
Where they underwrote all of the Biden debt. Unfortunately, what they built into that.
Hold on, Charlie. That's DC speak.
No.
Shut down the government.
Oh, listen.
Shut it down.
I stood on the stage yesterday.
Then don't
shut it down. Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Yeah. So here is the unfortunate trigger that was in the debt limit deal. In the event that we exercise max leverage because of what was already approved, not by me, but by the Republicans under McCarthy and McConnell, that triggers an automatic CR at a 1% reduction across the board. I don't support across-the-board 1% reductions as some massive victory. I think we need deep vertical cuts to entirely abolish unconstitutional agencies like the Department of Education and the ATF and the EPA.
I agree. But Matt, really quick, do you have any hope that when you guys come back January 15th or January 9th, that are we really going to get spending cuts?
Look, you don't have a majority that supports spending cuts. Let me be straight with you. When we put up hundreds of amendments to cut spending, you get a lot of the New York Republicans and a lot of the California Republicans that will not vote with the Freedom Caucus and with the fiscal hawks. So the answer to your question is you do not have a majority in the United States House of Representatives that really wants to cut spending. Now, I'm doing everything I can to motivate and persuade them. Look, I look at the squad. There were 4 of them. And then I look over there now, and every last one of them looks like they're in the squad. So maybe if we get a little bit of courage, more people like Eli Crane and Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar from Arizona, if we get more people like that, send me 10, 20, 30 more fighters to Congress. I've met a lot of them who are running out in this audience tonight, and that backup would be much appreciated.
We got 15 seconds. Steve, you got a thought on that? He's staying out of it. So.
I'm saying no. Hey. Gaetz is one of the smartest young men in this country, and one day will be a president of the United States.
All right, stay right there, everybody. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Matt, Stan, and Steve, we'll see you soon, man. Give it up for Steve Bannon, everybody. We'll be right back. So we have Congressman Matt Gaetz. I just want to say, Matt, you're doing a great job. This is not directed at you, but I, for one, am pretty upset. I'll just go through the list. We extended 702. We got to make sure the mics are on, guys. We extended FISA 702 for a couple months, so that fight is still looming.
No, we say functionally it extended for a year because the way the FISA process
You're not
works,
making the case for Johnson better.
I'm not. By the way, I'm here to tell the truth.
No, I love it.
I have spent years of my life exposing these abuses in FISA. 278,000 of them. When you catch someone breaking the law 278,000 times, you should not reward them. I can't even believe I have to say that. But what they'll do with this short-term extension, every single one of those warrants they have, they will extend it for the full year. And so it functions as a full year extension. The reason that's important is it drains all the leverage that we have actually pushing for reforms. And the main reform is not some complicated legal jargon. It's just if you're spying on an American, you should have to get a warrant. I can't even believe we have people in our government who are opposed to that. But we have seen over 10,000 people have access to these backdoor searches that they use against Americans. So, it gets me upset.
Yeah, and you guys all went home. I know you wanted to for Thanksgiving and Christmas break. Not really, let's just say working extra hours while the country's in crisis. We come back. You guys come back January 9th. The deal expires January 15th. Here's what I think is going to happen. Right? Come back January 9th. Oh, it's an election year. It's an election year, and we might get maybe a modification here or there, but I'm cynical. I'm cynical, Speaker.
No, well, I'll just tell you what you're going to get.
All right, tell us.
And it is not what I want, and I am fighting like hell against it. But all of the political momentum right now is to go to the 1% cut CR that was negotiated in the debt limit deal. And that's
not even a cut. It's a cut in the rate of growth.
By the
right?
way, it's a $78 billion cut. And on top of that, they want to add a $100 billion supplemental, of which $60 billion will go to Ukraine. So that is the way. They want to do a 1% cut and then do a big dollop of Ukraine money on top, then more that subsumes it. So that is what I'm fighting against. And my problem is no matter who the Speaker of the House is, we got too many big spenders. And we got too many people who still want to fund Ukraine. And we got too many people who still want to extend FISA without any substantial review to the warrant requirement. And that is the Republican Party I face every day. And it's why I need the folks at Turning Point to be more active in sending me more backup to be able to win more of these battles.
Well, we sent you Anna Paulina. So,
you did. We
got Anna Paulina Luna.
You send me 30 Anna Paulina Lunas, we will save this country.
Yeah, well, that's a big task, but we can go about doing it. And so then going into this legislative session, the 702 is coming up in spring. We might be able to get some moderate reforms on that, but probably not. And then we just passed this trash NDAA bill, this National Defense Authorization Act, which funds our woke military. I know that was a tough vote for you because you have a lot of military in your district.
No, it wasn't, Charlie. I love our military, and I would support a 5% pay raise for them. But the service members in my district are more worried about what is happening to our military than anything else. So while I love and support our military, I am not going to vote for these authorizations for more DEI and CRT and all of these things that are changing the military in a really dramatic and negative way for the country.
Yeah, so, but why did Elise Stefanik and Jim Banks, what are they thinking? Why are they betraying their voters like this?
Look, I don't speak for them. I don't believe there was any strong conservative case to make for this NDAA outside of the 5.5% pay increase, which who among us would want to vote against that with all of it that our service members have to go through? But I made a commitment to the families in my district that I'm not voting to reauthorize weapon systems and new programs if we do not restore the 8,600 people who were separated from the military over an experimental vaccine with their full rank and back pay. And if you get more people to commit to those demands, then you create political momentum for those objectives. But look, the Raytheon and General Dynamics and Lockheed, they all got theirs in the NDAA, but I think we left our service members short.
Final question, Matt. It's a tough one. If Speaker Johnson betrays us again, do we motion to vacate?
Well, we have to see what comes next. I mean, when I did that to McCarthy, I undertook a tremendous amount of political risk that, I mean, we have a 2-seat majority right now, okay? And on any given day, one of these octogenarians I serve with, if they're not on the last hole, they're on the back 9.
And we did it to ourselves. McCarthy resigned.
Well, McCarthy
we
took his ball and went
out.
home. Yeah, I think McCarthy should have stuck around. If it was about the agenda and what Republicans were trying to do to save the country, he would have just taken his ball and gone home. But I think that was very revealing that it was just about him and his own ability to have laudatory titles. And so I think we can do better.
All right, everybody. Matt Gaetz, he's fighting hard in D.C. Wish we had more like him. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Stay right there. We'll be right back.